I love seeing this guy and the success that he has had. I met him for the first time when he was a member of, I think it was the Vikings. He had not even yet been on the Lions, and he would come in and hang out on NFL Total Access and show off his broadcasting chops that now is shown on sports and entertainment shows, not just Good Morning Football, but also the NFL Today on CBS, and also I don't want to mess up the entertainment outfit that he's part of as well, but he's Nate Burleson on the Rich Eisen Show. Which one is it, Nate? Extra? You're an extra man, correct?
Yep, that's right. It's extra entertainment. And I must admit,
keep up with
that Winston to Watson, it was very confusing.
And I felt so bad because I'm the one sitting next to Joe Thomas, and he's the one who's never done it before. And I'm like, just take it one snap at a time. And I'm the idiot standing to his left, calling the game and botching names left and right last year. But it was a great broadcast nonetheless. I thought it was a great time, Nate, working with you last year like we did.
It really was, and I enjoy being able to hang out with you, not just personally, but professionally, and sharing the booth with you. It's funny, though, because as we were criticizing Jameis Winston, like every Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan and all the sports fans, saying, oh, here's Jameis again throwing a pick six. Only if we had a quarterback, a good quarterback, a veteran quarterback, maybe a legend, somebody that doesn't throw pick sixes. And they signed Tom Brady. And since that time, when we were in the booth together, I believe Tom Brady has thrown 2 pick sixes if we include the postseason against the Titans, and then, of course, earlier this year.
Yes, indeed, and he actually threw one last week also in a win,
Yep.
So he's done it a couple of times. Now, though, we're sitting here talking about last night's game. Do you think, Nate, in all the football that you have played and observed and talked about, that Brady did, in fact, lose track of the downs last night?
I believe he did. I'm not going to try to cover up for Brady. Anytime you look at the ref, and you give him those eyes with the 4 fingers up,
yes,
asking as if you think that there's another down. And I saw a tweet, and Eisen, don't get mad at me, but I saw a tweet. Somebody said it must be a Michigan thing, and it was a side-by-side with him and Weber. I didn't agree with it. And just so you know, I did not like it either, okay? We're on the same page.
You're just letting me know that we're lockstep on that front, that you also did not like it, but you like to talk about it.
I like it.
But you're right. That indication of 4 fingers up in the air is not like, so the Bears are 4-1 now, right? I mean, like that would definitely lead to something. But the greater issue, again, is that, that, yes, even if Brady did lose track of downs or something like that, is that it's kind of the cherry on top of the lack of discipline or situational smarts that sometimes this team displayed last night. And that fact that Brady committed that means that this team is still not yet on the same page, as we like to say in the NFL. What do you think about the 3-2 Bucs now after what you saw last night, Nate Burleson?
It's such a strong contrast between what was last week in the 5-touchdown game, and then also, what we've seen early on in the season. We were talking about it on Good Morning Football, and the question was, have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hit their stride? And I wanted to say yes, but given the fact that you had a hobble Mike Evans out there, you have Chris Godwin, who is one of the premier wide receivers in the league, on the sideline, and still Gronk trying to find some type of rhythm out there within this offense, I had to answer no, they haven't hit their stride. And I think there's a bigger question is, did this offseason, with quarantine and not being able to be in the same building, study inside the football classroom, did that play a role in Tom Brady not being as prepared as he typically is? Because we know Tom Brady is a student of the game, but as we see with the mental errors and also the mistakes, not necessarily the mistakes, but the injuries that we've seen in football, I think the offseason, or the lack thereof, has played a crucial part in some of these teams stubbing their toe figuratively and literally with some of these injuries. But I do feel like Tom Brady and the Bucs, they're a decent team. It's rare that we talk about Tom Brady and any teams that he's on and saying that they're decent, but I'm not going to BS you and say, oh, they're great and they're perfectly fine. No, they're not. They're not perfectly fine. And given the fact that this quarterback is in his mid-40s, there's never been a threat to run in the pocket, and you see he does not want to get hit. And anytime there is a collapse of the pocket, like we saw last night, Khalil Mack being an absolute monster,
yes,
I believe that it's going to be it's going to be trouble for those guys, for any defense that can collapse the pockets on Brady and make those windows very small.
So now that we're one game into the second quarter of this season, the best team in the NFC is fill in the blank, sir. What do you got?
The Seattle Seahawks. You know, I feel like the best quarterback in the NFL is Russell Wilson. The best team is the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, you get Jamal Adams back, him along with Bobby Wagner, and then that front. I mean, tell me another defense that is as scary as that. And then offensively, DK Metcalf has arrived, folks. I mean, this isn't your, he's pretty good. This second-year wide receiver he's going to be decent, and he's going to have a good career. No, this dude, if he continues to trend in the right direction, as I see him in, he's going to be mentioned as the best receiver in the game in a matter of 2 years or less. And then he's complimented by Tyler Lockett. And luckily, Chris Carson wasn't too injured with that egregious Gator roll that was done on him in that Cowboys game. But he's back in the fold. So you add all of those elements. Seems like they have everything. So I do feel like the best team in the NFC is the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, another player who's going to hope to follow in your footsteps, and I think he will, from the NFL to an outstanding broadcasting career, Nate, is Greg Olson, who prior to the season came on this show, and I asked him his impressions of seeing DK Metcalf up and close and personal. He said he's got Calvin Johnson type ability. You are somebody who would know based on what you're seeing if that is something similar. What do you think about that? It's a very, very high standard to reach, but what do you think, Nate?
No doubt about it. That's high praise. But, you know, when it comes to Calvin, I remember the first time I saw him. And I just signed with the Detroit Lions, and I'm sitting back, I'm going through practice. I get in the locker room, and I'm kind of in awe. You know, I'm a fan of just real talent. And I'm not going to be the guy to front and act like I'm on the same level of certain dudes that I'm in awe of.
Right.
It happened with Randy Moss, and then it happened when I signed with the Detroit Lions. And I get in the locker room after practice, and the media swarms my locker, and they're talking about me signing there and why I signed with the Detroit Lions. And the next question was, well, listen, you played with Randy Moss, and you were on the field with Calvin today. You know, we've had some trouble with number one wide receivers. You know, we had Roy Williams and Charles Rogers, rest in peace, because he passed away. You know, is Calvin the guy? I mean, what do you see out of Calvin? I mean, do you think that he can really hold down this organization as a wideout? I'm talking about a true number one. And I'm sitting back, and I wanted to give him that James Harden, roll my eyes, walk away from the interview face, because I'm like, what dude are you guys looking at? You've been here since he's been drafted. I spent 24 hours here in Detroit. I haven't even unpacked my bags, and I can already tell this dude is the best wide receiver in the game. And that's kind of what I said, and they were like, okay, you know, we'll see kind of thing. And sure enough, within a couple of years, Calvin Johnson broke Jerry Rice's record and was the most unstoppable force. So for Greg Olson, who's been around the game and has seen pure talent, for him to say that, I mean, I agree with him 100%. DK has all of it. He's built like David Boston. He can run routes like Julio Jones, and he's starting to develop these soft hands like Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, that's one hell of a combination. Oh, and not to mention, he's playing with Russell Wilson,
That's right.
who could be the coolest quarterback to ever catch a ball from, because he's just like a big brother that wants to see his little brother win.
And he also throws a great ball too, right? I mean, I think he and he and Aaron Rodgers throw a deep ball where it seems like it drops straight down a chimney, like it literally comes straight down, like on a right at you, and it just puts it right there. It's a perfect combination. So that's why, obviously, Seattle's going to be tough to beat. And then in the AFC, the team that has the best chance to knock off the Chiefs through 4 weeks would be which team, Nate Burleson? Which one?
You know, I so desperately want to say the Ravens. And if I do, people will sit back and say, Nate, well, you saw the game. That was a struggle for Lamar in that offense. And it was. I'm not going to sit here in front, but I will say this, and this isn't me being an apologist for the Baltimore Ravens or even Lamar Jackson. They had some early drops in that game. And you have some early drops in a game versus the Chiefs. That's like playing against the Kevin Durant Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and missing 5 threes in a row. And on the other end of the court, their fast-paced transition offense, they bust down those 5 threes. They open up games quickly. I say that to say this. It's the same thing facing the Chiefs. If you have a couple of mistakes, if you drop a ball, if you give up a big play, and then you don't counter back, they're going to open up the game and they'll have control of it. I mean, with the ability of Pat Mahomes, his discernment with the ball, because he's not going to throw the game away, and then the game plan of Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, like it's just tough to beat those guys. I'll throw in a random. It's not so random, but I'll throw in a team that, as of this week, they wouldn't come to mind because of how they got smacked around. The Patriots. I do feel like we got cheated.
Yes.
And 2020 has been exactly that. COVID-19, the coronavirus has done everything from hurt our loved ones with all the deaths that we've seen around the globe, put people in binds financially. It has our kids sitting out of school doing everything virtually. But in the world of football, because I want to mention those things first, so I wasn't insensitive to what the real issues are. Mm-hmm. But in the world of football, I feel like Corona cheated us out of a really good matchup. I mean, Cam Newton in the new Patriots offense versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, that would have been interesting to watch. And I'm not sitting here claiming that Cam Newton would have just ran through the Chiefs, but, I mean, literally, he could have ran through the Chiefs because that offense is different. The Patriots team that put the Chiefs in a bind and Pat Mahomes struggled against, Cam was running that exact offense, but he had the ability to use his legs, which makes that offense so much more dangerous. So I would like to see that at some point. That's if the Patriots season doesn't fall apart because of what just happened with Cam Newton being benched and all the guys that have already opted out of the season. But, yeah, that's the team that comes to mind because I was really excited about what Cam was doing in that Patriots offense.
Me too. What about the Bills? I mean, I kind of think that they have a quarterback that can do it, again, arm, legs, defense that can maybe get in Mahomes' grill. Obviously, it's not Belichick coordinating it, but it's no slouch with Leslie Frazier. And they also have playmakers now with Diggs in that mix. Yeah. I mean, I know that Allen, it's only just 4 games, but he looks the most valuable part in that regard, too. What about Buffalo, Nate?
Yeah, he is the most valuable part. I mean, he's MVP. You can either call him the most valuable part or even the most valuable player in the league. He needs to be in the conversation too.
Yes.
I mentioned Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers is in that conversation. Cam, for a quick second, was even in it, and Josh Allen should definitely be in the conversation as MVP. He starts off the season and he sets a career high in pass yards, and then follows that up with a 400-yard game.
Yep.
And, this is the question that I posed to my crew as we were talking about this on Good Morning Football. I said, I want you to think about Josh Allen's highlights this year. Just stop for a second. I want you to think about a big play from Josh Allen. And I want you to think about the highlights from last year. What comes here is him dropping back and throwing some beautiful balls. And Stephon Diggs, the new piece, being on the other end of those throws. But last year, when you think about Josh Allen, it was a combination of both. It was him running around, sometimes like a chicken with his head cut off, other times running over linebackers and hurdling over defenders and doing some very, very athletic stuff. But this year, it's almost like he's more comfortable within the pocket. And for anybody that really wants to check out the details and the nuances of watching a quarterback, what makes Josh Allen so different, and check him out when you watch him this weekend and moving forward, when he's in that pocket, his helmet doesn't bounce around like a bobblehead. Some of these rookies, some of these younger quarterbacks, when you see these guys in the pocket, their helmet will bounce around because it is frantic in that pocket, and it is collapsing, and you're seeing where the coverage is and trying to figure out where the pressure's coming from, all the while trying to decipher your read, going from 1-2, maybe even check down, hit my running back. But Josh Allen doesn't look so panicked anymore. You know what that is? One, it's growth, maturity. It's knowing the playbook, being surrounded by playmakers, but then also, in a reference to him being raised on the cantaloupe farm, it's his cantaloupes dropping, man. The dude is turning into a man right before our eyes. So I feel like Josh Allen in that offense, and McDermott, who is in the running for Coach of the Year, you got to give them credit.
No doubt. Last one for you, Nate, before I let you go on with your day. The success of Good Morning Football. It was great to hear Aikman say during the broadcast last night after Joe read a promo for it that he watches every day. So many people watch every day. And now you on NFL Today on CBS as well and Extra, and you're expanding your brand and your world. What comes with that as well is people ripping you right off What do you say when you hear toe drag swag being used by others and you don't get credit for it, Nate? How do you handle that? Because I always got my catchphrases from SportsCenter ripped straight off, and obviously it's the greatest form of flattery is imitation. But how do you handle that, Nate, when people use it and don't give you credit?
Well, if it's too egregious, I hit the lawyer. There was a couple of brands, and I'm talking about some major brands that started making some shirts, and I was like, oh, you didn't know I trademarked this when I played, huh? Okay, I'm gonna send you a quick letter, and you don't have to holler at me. But you know what, Rich? You know what it's like, and I've told you this 1,000 times, and yes. I tell you, whether we're in private over a drink or talking in front of the world, you've been one of the biggest influences. So, we as a new generation of broadcasters and entertainers, because they are synonymous, we're standing on the shoulders of guys who have done it before. You, from the early NFL Network days, ESPN, to the Best Damn Sports Show, all the OGs that haven't played the game, that have played the game, that built really good platforms, and you still doing it with the Rich Eisen Show. All we're doing is we're trying to recycle what has been done before by giving credit to those who have done it before us, and then adding a little bit of our own flavor. And the toe drag swag is my own flavor.
That's right, it is. And I appreciate the kind words and sentiments. So Nate Burleson, nickname for Nate Burleson would be cease and desist, it seems. You're just firing that out a little bit, huh?
Thanks.
Cease and desist.
Business, baby.
So you trademarked that when you were a player? You did that?
Yeah. I did it a couple of times on the sideline and in the end zone. I hashtagged it, and then I made a shirt just for me and my boys to wear around. And once one person said, "Where can I buy that?" thinking like a businessman, I immediately trademarked it, started creating shirts, and from then on, I've been branding it. I did a collaboration partnership with Mitchell and Ness, and I did a collaboration partnership with the NFL Network. And so when it is said or used by any other network or brand,
yes,
you only give them so many passes before you go after their you know what I'm saying.
Oh, I know. They can only do it so much, and then you got to go Khalil Mack on Tristan Wirfs on them, and then that'll be the end of that. Then that'll be the end of that. You'll just throw them around. Nate, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. You take care of yourself. You be well with your family.
Anytime, man.
You got to keep on killing it. That's Nate Burleson of the NFL Today on CBS, Extra TV, and, of course, Good Morning Football. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.